power creep, a term that's normally used to describe the rampant growth and power level of the cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, Konami's decided that in Duel Links, not only are they going to start power creeping cards, but they're going to be power creeping the skills now as well. Shooting Star Road, a skill you guys might remember from not too long ago that would summon out this gigantic boss monster. Well, it turns out that Konami thought, screw that skill, we're going to summon out the bigger version of that boss monster. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of people watching this are even subscribed to the channel, you need all of you returning viewers who have seen my content before. So if you find yourself keep coming back to the channel and see more content just like this in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing down below. Also, I have a bunch of videos planned around the latest box coming out later this week, including a Time Lord video and an RDA video which should be actually released later today, so if you're interested in any of that stuff, remember to subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into this deck list. So today's deck list is all about the brand new card Shooting Quasar Dragon, who's a pretty damn insane card. Basically, the resources required to summon this card means its effects can be pretty damn insane. Must be synchro summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card's maximum for attacks per battle phase equals the number of non-tuner monsters used as its synchro material. So generally you're going to have 2 attacks with this card with 4,000 damage. Alright. Once per turn during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. Plus, when this card leaves the field, you can special summon Shooting Star Dragon from your extra deck, which you guys might recognize from that other YUSEI skill, which summons out Shooting Star Dragon, which is also another fantastic boss monster I'm sure you guys all recognize. So how exactly do we summon this bad boy? Well, you might look at the rest of this extra deck and think, this looks rather weird. It's running cards you might not have seen before, like Goyo Defender, which is a pretty cool little card. This dude on the field can basically summon out another copy of himself as long as all the monsters on your field are Earth monsters, which, spoiler alert, they will be because you have a Scarred Warrior on the field who is an Earth monster. It's kind of hard to explain the combo, it's much easier for me to show you during the gameplay portion, so don't worry about how exactly to summon it. All you need to know is you're just going to have a copy of your Synchron Carrier in hand, a copy of your Junk Synchron in hand, and a copy of your Jet Synchron in the graveyard, which might sound like a lot, but thanks to the skill and things like your tuning, it's actually not a lot at all. Your skill is called A Bond Illuminates the Future, and it has 3 effects. The first one is you can send 1 Synchron monster from your hand to the graveyard, to then add 1 Synchron monster from your deck to your hand, and set 1 Synchro Chase from outside of your deck. And if you want to know what this card does, basically if you Synchro summon out a Warrior Synchro monster, so one that has Warrior in its name, you can then bring back one of the materials you used for its Synchro summon, and you'll see during the combo portion what that actually does for the deck list. And on top of that, of course, you have to add 1 Synchron monster to your hand, which basically makes this deck very, very hard to brick with. Then we have the second portion of the skill. Basically, this allows you to send all monsters you control to the graveyard, and if the total amount of sent to the graveyard had 2,500 or more of stats, you can set 2 random Silent Dragons with different names outside of 4 from outside of your deck. Which, by the way, when it says set them, it actually still allows you to change their battle position on the same turn, so although they start off face down, you can just put them both face up, meaning you can have quite a lot of stats on the field, basically exchanging like 2,500 attack for upwards of like 4,000 or something, so it's a pretty nice little deal that can lead to a lot of OTKs, as you'll see during the replays. Now, as for the final part of the skill, unfortunately, in this particular variant of the deck list, you won't really be using this, as basically from turn 3 and onward, you return 1 Stardust Dragon from your field or graveyard to your extra deck, then change the level of all Synchro monsters you control to 2, and set 1 Life-Stealing Dragon from outside of your deck, which I'll explain right now basically why you would use this. So the reason you'll be using that third part of the skill is because this deck list can technically summon out a second copy of Shooting Quasar Dragon, so if the first one gets removed, as a follow-up play on the next turn, you would be able to summon out a second copy. But the downside of that is, because of how this combo works, your extra deck would essentially have to cut these 2 cards to run the second copy of this, and run the run the copy of Stardust that you need for the skill requirements. And obviously, this deck list now means you don't have a copy of your Shooting Star Dragon as the float effects from this dude, which I feel like is such a major downside, especially considering as a follow-up play, rather than summoning a second copy of this, you could just summon a copy of your Scarlight red anyway, and it basically is good enough to win most games. So, unfortunately, it depends on how you feel like playing. If you want to run a second copy of your dude here, you can. It's just unfortunate that we're actually just one extra deck slot short of being able to run the Stardust Dragon to be able to run all the cards we need for the full combo and still have the second follow-up play of this dude. As for the rest of the deck list, you guys have all seen these cards before, so I feel like I don't really have to go through them, so without further ado, let's just get into some gameplay. Alright, today I have 5 replays to share with you guys, all of which, I'm not gonna lie, are not gonna be the most fantastic replays around, just take them as examples. This deck list is really good and really decent, I just don't have a whole lot of time to be recording replays today, since it's currently 4 AM and I really need to go to bed at some point, so let's get into these replays. Yeah, because basically I want to get this video out as quickly as possible, and it's currently 4 AM, so these replays, please just take them as examples. They're not going to be the best sort of replays around, especially this late in the month. It's literally the last day of the ranked season, so there's a lot of junk running around, so yeah, keep that in mind. But they are just decent examples of showing off how this deck list works, though. So we're up against a Rocket player, and as far as I remember, the Rocket player didn't really do a whole lot. He just sort of set up some rockety stuff, but didn't end on any sort of annoying stuff. I think he did actually, he used his Booster Dragon to pop one of my cards from my extra deck, which is a little bit rude, I'll be honest. But thankfully he doesn't know how the skill works, and he got rid of a Stardust Dragon, so we're good to go. He probably thinks I'm using the other version of the skill, or the other skill that needs Stardust Dragon. Because I don't need that shit for this combo. Alright, so I'm gonna use my tuning, searching for my Jet Synchron. Basically, as long as you get a copy of your Synchron Carrier, your Junk Synchron in hand, and a Jet in the graveyard, you're good to go. And that might sound like a lot in theory, but when you actually it actually just is not. Especially when you're running so many searches in this deck list. You'll get it literally every single game. I have not had a single game yet of playing this deck list where I did not open the combo. Because it's just, yeah, so many searches for it, it's, yeah, too easy to play. Alright. Because the skill itself discards your Jet Synchron and searches for one of your 2 Synchron monsters, so it's very, very hard to brick with this deck. Alright, so normal summoning this dude, so he gives me a second normal summon for the turn, so I can summon my Junk Synchron, bringing back my Jet Synchron. Then I can go into my Earth monster, my Scarred Warrior. Go into my Goyo Defender. Goyo Defender summoning another Goyo Defender. Now keep in mind, when you summon this first Goyo Defender, it will give you the option to activate the effect of Jet Synchron. Do not do that, because Jet Synchron is a once per turn per its 2 effects, so you actually only want to use its second effect later on, which I'm using now, by discarding a card to resummon it. Its first effect would have searched for a monster from my deck, and that would have just completely ruined your combo, so keep that in mind. Alright. So now I'm going to go into my Coral Dragon, who can discard a card, pop something on the field, get rid of the field spell. Then with the remaining cards on field, the 6, the 3, and the 3, I can go straight into my copy of Shooting Quasar Dragon. And draw a card. Swing in, beating over my opponent's monster with 4,000 damage, negating its effect. And I can attack a second time, so absolutely decimating this poor dude. Alright, on to replay number 2. And then remember, this replay specifically is pretty damn boring, but just showing off the turn 1 setup or just opening and negate, I'm pretty sure. So very basic replay, this one. But to be fair, most deck lists won't play through this unless they got like a Book of Moon or something. Alright. So tuning just has to search for a copy of my Jet, so I can discard the Jet, add a copy of my dude to hand, and we now have full combo. I think the only time this deck truly bricks is if you don't get a hold of Jet Synchron by any means, so you don't draw a tuning, you don't open a Jet Synchron, which when you have 6 copies of like a particular starter in most decks, that's like an 80-something% chance of drawing it anyway, so it's very unlikely you're gonna brick with this deck. It's a very consistent sort of strategy. Alright. Go into my Goyo Defender, bring back. Jet Synchron, discard, resummon. Go into my level 6. Make my Shooting Quasar. Draw a card and pass the turn. Didn't hit any of my back row, sadly, so no Book of Moon. I can summon his Guardian, we're going to negate that real quick. Yeah, and he passed the turn back, and he's just dead on field. So tuning searches my Junk Synchron, normal summon. Bring back level 2, go into level 5, because we've still got this on the field. Sorry, Junk Warrior animation first, of course. Because we still have this on the field, its effect will go off because we summoned a warrior monster, bringing back one of the cards we use as material. So now we can go into a copy of my Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend. And this is where, if you're running the other version of the deck list, which I talked about during the deck list portion of the video, if you're running another second copy of your shooting Quasar Dragon, you could actually use you could have brought out a Stardust Dragon here, so you can use your version of the skill that would send the Stardust Dragon to the graveyard to summon the 2 dudes to the field, shuffle the Stardust Dragon to the deck? Shuffle or wherever it does, get rid of the Stardust Dragon, and it'll put the thing on the field, and you'll have all the materials to go into another shooting Quasar Dragon. So that's what I mean by you do have the option to run 2 Quasar Dragon in this deck list if you like, but generally I think it's probably better to keep the floating effect around with your shooting Star Dragon. It's a shame it's just like 1 extra deck card short of being able to keep like all the combos in here, but yeah, I think this is probably the better way to play it. Alright. And if none of that made any sense, don't worry about it, just play this version of the deck list. Alright. Next up. No, don't remember what this guy was playing exactly. Oh, this is the hero. This is another prime example of a early month sort of, or late month sort of decks being played. His back row was pretty good, but I'm not really sure why he summoned the particular card he did. So he gets his Blaze Man, so just for his Poly. Sets his back row, and then he summons out a copy of Elemental Hero Nova Master, whose effect, I don't even know what it does. It draws a card that destroys Slain by battle. Yeah, fantastic card, guys. Let's not run this, okay? Alright, but thankfully I've got 2 Forbidden Lancers, and he's got 2 back row, so we're good to go. Fortunately, Ice Dragon's Prison means we can't do the standard combo, because the standard combo would need this card as well, and he banishes it, so it's a bit annoying. But it's fine, it's not like we're out of place, we can still bring something back. And of course, we still have that play we showed you before, where we go into our Scarlight, so we just summon our Scarlight here. Which, by the way, if you want to see a Scarlight video, based on the new Resonator skill, feel free to subscribe, because that video will be coming out tomorrow, probably. Yeah, definitely tomorrow. Actually, probably later today, actually. We'll see. See how much time I've got. Anyway, summon out my Scarlight, pop all the stuff on the field, minus 500, hit him in the face. He has nothing on the top deck, so now I can show off the other version, the other part of the skill, where you can send, if you have 2,500 worth of stats on your field, you can send all your fields to the graveyard to summon out 2 random of these dudes to the field, whatever they're called. I forgot that, Signer Dragons. And for some reason it sets them and it lets you flip them up in the same turn, so flip them face up, billion attack, and yeah. Alright. Final 2 replays. I think this one was a Time Lord dude, and the final replay, I've completely forgotten who that was. The final replay was a rank up game though. If you guys are wondering about like win rates and stuff for this deck list, I feel like it's really hard for me to, like, it was obviously really good for me, but it's also late month legend, so it's really hard to sort of justify it being good, because obviously most decks are going to be good at late month legend when, as you can see, all the junk I've been playing against on the, from these replays, so how this will go in like tournaments and stuff, I have no clue, but it's definitely decent enough for the ladder. If you want to climb all the way to King of Games with it, you definitely could, especially late months like this. Alright, so on my Scarred Warrior. Bring back my dude, level 3. Bring back my other level 3. I love Goyo Defender, he's such a cute little dude. I forgot what deck list I used to use him in. Some plant deck list, I think. Back when, before that skill was nerfed that ruined the plant combo. Alright. Coral Dragon, getting a draw and passing the turn. This time did actually get a Book of Moon. Not going to negate that, because I'm going to save our negate for hopefully something more important. Activates Empty Machine, still not using our negate yet, and then he gets a Time Lord on the field. And this card is really annoying for this deck, because we don't actually have any sort of, like, non-destruction removal, so we can't actually get rid of this thing that's currently immune to destruction effects. I believe it's immune anyway. Yeah, cannot be destroyed with battle or card effects, so you have to wait for it to shuffle itself back into the deck. But it's not too bad, because it does shuffle itself away, and as long as we sort of negate these cards, we're probably good to go. Like, he tries to use his trap card here, I just negate that, and that's basically one of his win conditions gone, so, yeah, as soon as his turn starts, his thing was going to shuffle back into the deck, and I'm assuming he just didn't draw another Time Lord or something, so you just concede instantly. Alright, final replay. And this was the rank up game. Oh, this one's the, Maya Senju. Alright. Fantastic hand going on here. It's fine, we drew a jet, so we're good to go again. I don't think tuning's even once per turn, right? Yeah, this card's not even once per turn, so I could have used it twice anyway. Alright, Synchron Carrier, normal summoning my dude, bring him back. Unfortunately, he has his trap card, which is very nasty. Thankfully, it doesn't actually, like, destroy these cards, though, just puts them back in my hand. And I did draw double book, so I'm probably pretty safe. Alright, summons a bunch of dudes here. Targets my stuff. I'm going to activate Book of Moon, flipping one of these face down. Swings in, puts me pretty damn low, but thankfully not dead. Meaning I can now use my Synchron Chase, activate my tuning, search my junk Synchron, and we're good to go. I think I just decided to activate the second part of the skill here because it was kind of cool. There's plenty of ways I could have killed him here. Alright, junk Synchron, bring back once again. Make a copy of my Coral, discard Pop. And we have 2,500 worth of stats on the field, so I'm just going to send it all away. Summon 2 Cyno Dragons to the field. Flip them both face up, and there's just lethal. Alright guys, that's been all for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Remember, I have a bunch of videos planned around the new box coming up with the upcoming days, including Time Lord, and of course the RDA video that's guaranteed to come, probably later today actually, so if you want that, remember to subscribe. Alright guys, without further ado, thank you guys for watching, laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.